Hey everyone, I'm Rin from Rindar Gaming, and today we're going to go over what you need to prepare for the endgame. Let's talk catch-up mechanics, resources, and how to improve your damage. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that sub button for more Mythic Plus and raiding videos. So this video idea actually came to me when I was sitting down with a couple of guildies and I was trying to help them go through some of the resources that are currently required to get into endgame and actually maintain good damage, good survivability, and like understanding trait stacking, some of the things like that. And that kind of got me thinking, like, how many people out there actually, just don't utilize these resources that can help you get so much extra damage out there. So we're going to go through kind of the gearing process to start off with, as if you're like a fresh level 120. And we're going to kind of walk through some of these different sites and resources and things you want to do so you can go from just dinged to rating normal, heroic, or maybe even mythic if you're willing to push this hard enough. So we're going to talk about several of these little steps along the way, and then towards the end we're going to go into some of the resources that you should really be utilizing to kind of min-max your tune. Things that you can do, like just passively do to get extra damage out there, alright? So the first thing we're going to talk about is gear. Remember that Blizzard loves to put in gear catch-up mechanics to help people quickly play with friends and guildmates, right? Right now the hot spot is Nazjatar. So you're going to want to go out to Nazjatar and you're going to want to collect up all those little pearls and essence, the little pearl things, and you're going to trade those in for 385 gear, and then you can trade in a couple more and make it all 400 gear, right? So this is how you're going to very, very quickly and effectively baseline your tune at like a 400-ish item level, okay? Then you're going to want to go out to Mechagon. Mechagon's got a lot of rings and trinkets you can do if you're willing to grind out some of the rep. You can actually get patterns to craft up to a 420 ring. So if you can get that to proc right, it's going to be really, really, really strong. And then there's a couple of trinkets there. There's a red card you can purchase off the vendor if you're willing to get your reputation all the way up to revered. And that card is a channeled cast. It's incredibly strong, but that's going to get you into some very, very good, quick, and effective rings and trinkets, right? So what you're doing here, you're going to want to look and see what gear out of Nazjatar is going to be your best in slot. Some of that stuff you can upgrade it all the way up to 425. You want to make sure it procs the socket before you start really upgrading it. And you're going to want to find out how good is that piece of gear, because some of it is better than the mythic level loot that you're going to be able to get out of the raid. So you go in there and you're like, okay, well, for my class, hands are going to be absolutely best. So you're going to sit there and just spam roll hands until you get a set with a socket on it. If it's got a tertiary as well, that's even better. But you really, really want that socket. And then you need to make sure the affix on the piece is the correct affix, right? Some of them are like there's a cloak that allows you to talk to a vendor. We don't care about that, okay? It's all about that sweet deeps. So figure out which ones of those are your best in slot. Go roll those bad boys, get that gear on, and start upgrading and getting up to 425, okay? That's going to be your main focus after you kind of baseline that tune out. And then you're out at Mechagon, you're grinding out a little bit of rep, you got a couple of free essences coming from the Nazjatar and the Mechagon folks, as well as like your Crucible of Flame, which is a huge damage for just about every class and spec. So don't be afraid to equip that on your major if you need something just to pop in there for the starters. It's really, really good damage. For my blood DK, it's like 10 to 15% of my damage between the major and the minor throughout the course of a dungeon run. It's huge. It's huge. It's actually huge. Okay? So, the next thing we're going to need to talk about is going to be Azerite, okay? Azerite's going to be a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. You can get some stuff out of Nazjatar, but it's not necessarily going to be great. What you're going to want to do here is, if you have gold lying around, right, and I know this is kind of cringy to say, if you have gold lying around, buying a Mythic plus 10 for your very first week isn't the worst idea in the world, all right? You're going to probably get some 430 loot out of the run, okay? You're going to get a 440 piece out of your cash for the following week. Most importantly, though, you're going to get like 17k Titan Residium, and that's going to let you buy one 430 Azerite piece and then a couple of 415s, right? So again, you're buying just one just to kind of re-baseline your character, because the goal here is to get to about that 415 to 420, 425 range, to where you're really ready to get into some rating or some higher keys, okay? And then gear is just the regular old endgame farm. But if you want to very, very quickly boost that character, paying for a run, or if you've got buddies hanging out that have been just rocking keys and they can just drag you through a 10, it doesn't matter if you time it, just like if they can drag you through a 10, you're gonna have such a huge advantage over somebody who's trying to actually grind out that Azerite gear legitimately. Okay, but you want to be able to get through some key. No matter what happens, you want to get through the highest key you could possibly get your butt into just for that Titan Residium. You want to be able to buy some Azerite gear, right? 430 gear is not, I mean, it's not going to be cap, obviously, right? We all want 445, but you're going to get that after about 9 to 10 weeks of farming 10s. You're going to have all 445 Azerite pieces. It's going to happen. It's going to come. We can't promise they're going to be good, right? Because you got to go play that Azerite lottery, but you should be able to at least roll some. Rocking in some 430 pieces, especially if they've got specific traits like Hunter's Rapid Reload or something like that on it, it's going to be worth. You're going to want that 430 gear. It's going to be a really, really good jump start, okay? Another thing for Azerite is you're going to want to be checking out the heroic raids and seeing which pieces in those raids are going to be particularly good for you. You're going to want to open them up, check the traits, find out how trait stacking, or see where your trait stacking needs to be and which ones of those have those specific traits on them. And then you're going to want to really, really target those pieces. Make sure you're utilizing those for bonus rolls. You want to use your bonus rolls on good Azerite and weapons and trinkets, right? That's like your big 3 things you're really looking for. All the rest of the gear is kind of whatever. You can farm it out of Mythic Plus. There's 100 different places you can get all that stuff. Wouldn't stress it a whole lot, alright? So the last really major gear source that you're going to have for this early gearing progression is going to be your emissary caches. Those can give you 415 rings and trinkets, 415 Azerite pieces, 415 random pieces of gear, 415 weapons, right? But you've got to get some eye level first. You've got to get up to like that 405, 410 piece, which is why we were kind of talking about all that Nazjatar and Mechagon grinding that you're going to want to do early, because that's going to allow you to kind of get to that point to where those caches cap out very quickly. Once you're to that point, be watching those emissaries every single day. If you can pull a ring off of those, you can pull a trinket off of those, you can pull a Azerite piece off of those, that's going to be great, right? That's going to be huge bumps for you. Okay, so where are we at? We have a little gear on you, a couple Azerite pieces, and now we got to talk about these things called essences, right? So let's head over to Blood Mallet, and it should have a pretty good list for what essence is the best and what to stack for max damage. But if you really want to understand what's going on, you should head over to Wowhead as well to check out the essence section for your class and spec. This is going to give you a little more info on what each essence is going to do, why they're really good, and why they may not be so good. There's a couple of essences that I really, really liked. What was it? Lucid Dreams or whatever, the one that refunds actual resources. I was like, this thing looks great. When you get it in rank 3, it gives you some versatility, or it gives you some leech. Like, this could be really, really cool. And then I went and checked all the forums, and they're like, yeah, this thing's actually garbage. You get like 3 runes a minute out of it. It's really terrible. And I was like, well, that sucks. Okay. But that's where you want to go, and you want to read up on these things. You want to do a little bit of research for your class and spec. I can't possibly sit here and go through every class and spec in this video. It would be like 4 hours long, and nobody wants to hear me talk for 4 hours. So utilize your resources. Blood Mallet's going to be a huge one for your essences. They have it to where you can see what the damage is for a single essence, and also if you're stacking 2 of them. And like for World Vein, if you've got a group where you've got at least 3 or 4 people wearing World Vein, it'll show you that sim damage, because World Vein is actually broken, guys. I don't think enough people are talking about this. If you can get 3 or 4 people in your Mythic Plus group or your raid to all put World Vein on, you guys staying close enough together, those shards are shared. It's 100% uptime. It's like 800 main stat 100% of the time for an essence. It's broken, right? But you've got to have a group that's willing to work together and everybody kind of puts those essences on. Otherwise, it's kind of meh, right? Okay. So, we've got some gear. We've got some Azerite. We've got some essences. We're ready to really start crushing these keys now, right? Well, one last little thing. Before you walk into a key or a raid, you should really look at add-ons. Things like method dungeon tools, an interrupt tracker, a boss module like your bare minimum. If you need more info on this stuff, I did a video on this not too long ago, so you can go check that out. It'll give you some really, really good add-ons for Mythic Plus. But now let's talk about a couple of resources that are going to help you improve that damage, right? So you've gone in, you've got your add-ons, you got your gear, you're ready to go, you're all hyped up. We're going to jump into a normal raid, and you walk in there, and you're doing less damage than the tank. Well, poop. Let's try and fix it. So, first off, we have to talk a little bit more about Blood Mallet, okay? This site is a series of pre-simmed equipment and can be very valuable when you need to quickly identify if a new trinket or Azerite piece is an upgrade. It has breakouts for every class and spec in the game, as long as it's DPS. At this point, there are no HPS meters or tank rankings, okay? So if you have a huge pool of gear at this point, and you're not sure which trinket's going to be best, and for some reason you don't want to use raid bots, you can go to Blood Mallet, and it's going to give you a really, really nice and easy to read list with different eye level breakouts to where you can quickly identify which is going to be your top piece. It's got trait stacking for all your Azerite gear like we talked about a little bit ago. So you can open that up and be like, okay, well, I play Hunter, so I want to stack up 3 things of rapid reload because it's going to be just huge, huge, huge damage compared to anything else that I could possibly equip, right? So you're going to want to be checking that out and using those resources to find out exactly how to stack your gear. And then you're also going to want to spend some time to learn how some of those things work via like your class discords or some other good resource pages. We got a couple more we're going to talk about here in a second. Because a lot of times it's not just a matter of throwing that gear on there. You've got to actually learn how to play it, okay? Really, really good Azerite pieces and good essences actually change your gameplay a little bit, make it a little more engaging. But if you learn those nuances and you're willing to put in a little bit of time, it's a lot of fun and you can do some really, really crazy thing, okay? So next off, let's talk about Raider.io real quick. This site's used to track how your character is doing in raiding and Mythic Plus. So it's going to show your raid progressions, can also give you a Mythic Plus score. You should use this tool to see what dungeons you can prioritize to maximize score, or just take a look at how your team and guild stack up against the server or the world, right? I did a how to maximize your Raider.io score a long time ago. You guys can go back and check out that video if you're actually trying to push up and get to like a 1K score or something like that. That's one of your goals for the X-Pack or the patch, whatever. You can go take a look at that one. Pretty good. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Icy Veins. This site has information on how to stat and spec and play every class in the game. This is a very good resource to get you started on how to play a proper rotation and also select talents for like what kind of content you're running. Alright, it also has some pretty good tips and tricks for Mythic Plus and raiding, so you should probably go check that one out. Very good resource. And Wowhead, right? We're going to talk about Wowhead because it's basically your one-stop shop for all things WoW, right? So Wowhead is super essential in getting ready for endgame. They host the Fat Boss guides for written strats for raiding, so that's going to give you a complete mechanic breakdown for every fight all across the raids. They're great too. They do some really funny YouTube videos. If you haven't already gone and checked out Fat Boss, like obviously after this video, you should go do that. Go check out Fat Boss. And they also have class and spec breakouts on Wowhead, so don't be afraid to look over that resource as well as Icy Veins. And if you have questions from there, guys, that's where your class Discord should really be coming in. You should be able to go in there and be like, hey, I'm reading this here and this here, and I'm not sure what to do exactly. You know, there's people out there that'll help you out. Don't be afraid to go ask. All right. And for the next thing, you should go hit that like and sub button because you made it this far, and we appreciate you. And then you should go check out Raid Bots. So this site basically gives Simcraft an easy-to-use overlay. You can use this to simulate your character's damage and see what gear is best. You can also see how to gem and enchant and get a true stat priority for your character. So rather than going to a website and finding out what the general stat priority is, this is going to tell you actually point to point how much damage each point of stat is going to give you for your tune based on your talent setup, your trinkets, and everything. You should be on raid bots pretty much all the time, alright? So now you've done it. You've got the gear, the Azerite, the essences, the mods, the pull pass. I do have tank videos for those as well. And you've read through every raid strat. All that's left is just to go kill it. Thanks for listening, everyone, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, post them in the comment section below. Ask me on Twitter or on my live stream. Links will all be in the description below. And if you're new to the channel, guys, make sure to hit that sub button. It does help out a lot. But until next time, later, y'all.